Hello, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I'm your host, AirsoftAL, and welcome to the first of hopefully in the future many after-action reports. This after-action report, of course, is from Tubulo Airsoft Club's Toy Drive game, charity game, and what I learned from that event, as well as, well, yeah, what I really learned from that event, and what I need to improve, and sort of what I got out of it. Now, before I continue, understand now that I will be giving a sneak peek as to the guns I'll be taking to the next game I go there. So, hopefully you can look forward to that at the end of the video. But, here's what I did learn. Starting off with the gear I did rock. The gear I did, well, in terms of the guns I did wear, or rock really, start off with the one that I know a lot of you probably are going to see a lot of. Start off, of course, with the Cyberpunk Smg. The Cyberpunk Smg build originally was the Magpul PTS build, but after I started really looking at it and saw how cyberpunkish it started getting, I was just like, you know what, let's just make it into a cyberpunk gun. And this thing performed really good. Reloads were actually very easy, thanks to Patrick and, of course, John, who allowed me to use their MP5 magazines at the game. I was able to swap out magazines relatively easy and efficiently. It performed really well. However, it wasn't until the end, near the end of the game, that I actually found out a flaw I should have gotten at the first time. The flaw being within the buffer tube. The buffer tube, sadly, was originally polymer. I now have a metal buffer tube. And I might be swapping this out further because trying to extend the stock on this is a pain and a half. Might have to sand it down, but either way, the big thing about this is that apparently the polymer buffer tube did not actually set well first off and was damaged the first time around. Causing the screw to bend a bit, but didn't bend all the way, thankfully, like the last stock screw. I was able to straighten it out and use it in this again. Now, why did this happen? Well, number one, let me get the stock, and the buffer plate and the buffer tube plate, and the base plate that was there. So here's the stock. This is a polymer stock, and here is the damage that was done to it. This causes it to not be flushed, sadly, with any surface that it'll be on, so it will not stay flushed with any surface. The other thing is the base plate that was on it is this. This was the base plate that was on it, and sadly, it doesn't... the sad part is that when it was on the gun, it actually caused it to have a bit of a gap and caused it to wobble and bend a bit. Meaning that it wouldn't stay flushed with the entire back of the gun, which is something you really want. You want your buffer tube and base plate to be flushed together. Flushed meaning that, kind of like this, where there is no gaps and it's perfectly, basically together, essentially. Because of that, the stock, sadly, kind of bent a bit. Weren't able to get it off at the field, although I wish we could have. I was able to get it home and replaced. Again, I might be replacing it very soon with another metal buffer tube because the one I have on there, it's extremely thick and kind of, yeah, more or less. Now, the sidearm I did have was my Black Ops pistol. However, apparently the spring I had replaced the barrel spring with, it caused it to not cycle or run at all. Then again, it could be the cold weather. So the backup gun to that was, of course, the BR-45, which another player, I believe John's father, I think, I don't know, another player was able to actually identify this as an Italian handgun. I might look into it a little bit more, because he said he's actually messed with it a bit, and I might look into that, because that might be what this BR-45 is based off of, is an Italian handgun. But I did have this on here. It actually is a very good handgun. Didn't really get to use it all that much, except maybe one time, and I accidentally friendly fired with it once. And so, yeah, I'm hoping to... I'm going to be using a lot of non-blowbacks in the future at the field in the extreme cold weather until it gets better, and then I'll probably be switching over to gas blowbacks in the more warmer season. For colder seasons, I'll probably be sticking to non-blowbacks, and even then, some non-blowbacks I do have, I will be using a carbine kit for. So, yeah, that should be interesting. And if I do, I'm probably going to need more stick mags. But, again, we'll see in the future. Now, as for the magazines I was running, when I was still using the SMG kit, or when I was still using the magazine insert with the Cybergun SMG build, was mostly MP5 magazines. I didn't exactly get the brand names of them, but from the way it looked, I was using what looked like Elite Force magazines. So it could be SEMA or one of the other companies that Elite Force / Umarex OEMs to. But I do want to kind of talk about the other mags I was running. A lot of the mid-caps I was running were Banff mags, and of course a few others, and those ran really well, including the Ares magazine that ran really good, and I'm very happy with how that performed. But I did wear the beret, and sadly, that wouldn't fit over my camera straps very well. So in the future, I will probably be going back to a helmet or a beanie, but with the cold weather and all, I'm probably going to be wearing a beanie to kind of keep my head warm because my ears were cold. As for mask, I didn't really... Well, I say I didn't really wear a mask per se. I tried wearing some new face mask I got. First face mask I tried because I am a football fan and this is my father's favorite team. I tried wearing a Broncos mask. Sadly, the mask itself, while yes, still being good, is still somewhat comfortable. It does protect my face a little bit, and yes, I am able to articulate my face a little bit, but because there is a lot of space up here, with the ASG strike glasses, which yes, I actually got hit in the eyes here, so yeah, those actually saved my eyes bacon a few times. Sadly, because of how it is, the glasses actually do fog up a bit, and when the weather was being really cold, they fogged up extremely hard, so I wasn't able to use them as much, and they're already fogging up now. The other mask I have, which is God's Guns and Trump, is a more elastic mask. And while, yes, somewhat not as baggy as the other mask and not as securing to the face as the other mask, same problem. It's starting to fog up my glasses and I can't exactly see out of them. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, why not have anti-fog? I don't have anti-fog paste, or really any sort of anti-fog product. So, sadly, I don't have that, nor do I have full seal goggles at the moment. So, yeah, I don't have any of that. Now, the beret, like I said, I had that issue, so in the future, I probably will be wearing my Mitch helmet in the future, which means, sadly, because I'm not going to be rocking my full woodland, sadly, I'll probably be having it in its OD green configuration. So, yeah, I'll probably just be running around with an OD green helmet. But with the woodlands being what they were, and there were trees and stuff there, I may rock some woodland cargo pants along with the woodland helmet and an OD green shirt with a future vest, hopefully enough. Speaking of vest, well, before we even get to vest, I have to go and talk about the gloves, because the gloves, oh dear God. The gloves I had are mechanics gloves. These are the mechanics impact gloves, and sadly, they didn't really protect me from diddly dick. I say that because even though the BBs did hit them, I still felt it through here, still felt it all the way around here, and believe me, my hands hurt like hell afterwards. Sad to say, these gloves did not do very well in terms of giving me a lot of protection. Granted, it's cold as hell, and my hands were really starting to freeze a bit. These are not cold weather gloves, these are more along the lines of fall or warm weather. Fall, spring, and summer gloves. Not full-on winter gloves. That will be remedied in the future, however. To the future, I will be taking leather gloves next time. Now, leather is a lot more thicker and a lot more durable than fabric and rubber that is the Matrix Impact gloves. Again, these are basically sheepskin, in a sense, and I do have some articulation with it. And while these are my farming gloves, they still are good for what they need to do. And while the only way I can keep them in place is by, of course, pulling this nice little string here to keep it in place, it doesn't mean I'm not going to be able to articulate. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be able to work my guns, because even if I have a hard time reaching the mag release for the AR here, more magazines coming in, more MP5 mags, I can basically do it like that and pop in there. I'm still able to articulate the gun, which, again, the gun did perform extremely well. I'm very happy with how it performed and how it did on the field. The big thing about it, of course, is that the 10-inch barrel is definitely going to be a plus, because I tried... Well, you're going to see the gameplay in the future, so you're going to see how this does, and when I do get the 10-inch barrel in, I'm definitely going to be doing a review on it, or at least I'm going to be doing a video on how this swaps out, and how to basically have this set up in the way it is. That's that, and the gloves, of course. Now, as for gear, before I go into gear, one last gun to talk about. The one sleeper gun I took out of a lot in my collection now was the Double Eagle 2-in-1 M4. Now, sad to say, the gearbox in this is going to have to be replaced soon. Why, you may ask? Well, as I put the LiPo through this motherfucker and I was able to basically get it on the field, I started realizing that the trigger, which you can hear that clicking, started jamming up a lot, because the anti-rotation lock I have on here is, as Patrick put it, not exactly doing well and is going to give me problems. And it did give me problems on the field when it was in semi-auto, and you can hear that loud clicking noise. Don't know what that's about. I'm going to be opening it up and probably seeing what's going on there. But in terms of full auto, it actually does do very well. And again, I am very happy with how this performed. It did overhop the .25s I was shooting out of this thing, which was insane. The other issue I was having, of course, was it double feeding sometimes. But granted, this is how it is. It fed BBs pretty well. The shotgun under here actually did work out fairly well. Let me just quickly do this. Because, again, it performed what I needed to perform, and I'm very happy with how it performed. Even then, I'm still happy with how it performed in terms of the barrel, the hop-up, and everything else in between. This performed well beyond my expectations of how it performed. I'm very happy with it. The only other thing I'm not happy about is just, again, I did not anticipate that it was going to overhop. In the future, I'm going to adjust my hop-ups at the staging areas, and make sure that when this thing shoots, it does shoot where I need it to, in terms of, you know, just straight shooting. Also, slings! I'm definitely going to be getting slings in the future. Good slings, because there are points in the game where I had to actually drop the rifle and actually go for my pistol, and that was another thing. Also, speaking of the pistol, a Molly holster. A good Molly holster I'm going to be trying to get in the future as well. Because I do love my M12. Don't get me wrong, I do love my M12, but in terms of having one with having a gun with a very long barrel or anything like that, I might be looking for that in the future, or at least a drop leg holster, because I was having a lot of issues with pistols on the field itself, and kind of kicking myself in the ass. I forgot the M12. So yeah, there was that. Now we get to gear. What gear am I looking at? What gear did I take, and how did that perform? The vest I was wearing is, or was, which is debatable in the future, the Lancer Tactical Plate Carrier. This I did have on the field. It performed really well, did protect my front and my back, but the sides were wholly open and I was lit the hell up here. The single double stack mag pouches here worked and performed greatly, and are pretty good at holding MP5 magazines, which, again, if I wasn't using the tactical one here, and, you know, I do get regular ones in the future, this will hold at least 3 MP5 mags and 2 M4 mags, which, again, I'm still surprised at that it actually does. So when I get another one of these, I'm going to see if this will do 2 tacticals in the future, because if so, that means I can do 2 tacticals here and 3 regulars, and if I get more of these and put one here, that basically got 3, 3, and 3 in terms of how many MP5 mags I have. The same goes for the side pouches, because the side pouches, I was able to hold 3 MP5 magazines in there as well. which was a great boon. Now, in terms of the other utility stuff I had, on the side here, I did have my utility pouch, which we're moving up in the future, depending on how things go. And in it, I had grenades. Now, the grenades I did have... Well, before I go into the grenades, I'm just going to say this now. The admin pouch, it worked pretty good for what I needed to do, and I apparently... No, the magazine is in there, I know. This actually helped out pretty well, holding the magazines I had here. The big thing about it was that it worked. It performed what it needed to do. That's about it. That's all I got to say on the admin pouch here. Overall, the vest did do well, but in terms of proper protection in a CQB field, or at least in a CQB environment, not so fucking much. So I'm definitely going to be looking at something like this in the future. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be looking for something like that in the future. But, either way though, yeah, the vest performed well for woodland and mid-range for CQB. This did not give me a lot of protection at all in terms of the open sides, and I'm definitely going to be looking for better stuff in the future to up my protection in terms of, you know, just Tupelo Airsoft Club. Now, in terms of grenades, I did have my spring grenades here, and I even gave one to Tupelo Airsoft Club because I had two of each. Sad part is that my idea to put string in them, the string kind of came undone, so yeah, I'm definitely going to be looking to try and tighten those down in the future. But either way though, they performed pretty good. This one I gave to my buddy Austin, who went off and did fuck all with it. I don't know where he deployed it, where he did it at. This I was a little bit more disappointed in, give or take, because I threw it into a room, and while yes, BBs shot out everywhere, I was not expecting... I was expecting to get a kill, but I did not. The radius of it did fill the entire room. It really did. But, yeah, yeah. Moving on to conclusions. Now, my conclusion on the field is that Tupelo Airsoft Club is a very much so good all-around field. It's very good for not only, of course, extreme CQB, which yes, we were dealing with. So if you are a shotgun, SMG, SBR, pistol guy, the town they have set up is very much so your cup of tea, especially for you speed softers. As for the open field and forest, that is a sniper's playground, especially the open field. So if Ryan, the owner, can actually set up maybe some bunkers and make a not so spread out, not so in close town, but maybe more spread out, maybe more buildings set up for mid to long range combat instead of it being a very tight knit town for extreme CQB, that would be a good place to definitely spread out and play, especially for flanks and stuff like that. Even the pond. If the pond was... If I knew it was a little more shallower and it wasn't, you know, cold, I would have traversed the pond if I could. If there was a bridge there to be able to cross back and forth, that would be a great place to actually cut back and forth. The trees also were a bit of a concern for me because a lot of them were definitely not trimmed up enough, but at the same time, that was also an advantage. So my own personal preference in terms of how thick a tree should be is everyone's personal preference. For me, I did love that I was able to sneak up on one point, and as much as I hated it myself and I was kicking myself in the ass, I did not know the types of pyro grenades that were allowed and not allowed, because as soon as I realized that they were using tagging grenades, I was kicking myself in the butt because I have tagging grenades. And I mean that. Because if I had known tagging grenades were allowed, I would have been lobbing Soviet grenades and M67s. Well, baseball grenades, you know how it goes, but either way though. But yes, that's exactly what's going on, is that this field does allow for tag-ins, except for night games. Night games, that's a no-go because of the residential area they're in. During the daytime, like a noob in early Call of Duty, start fragging, start lobbing nades, start launching 40 mics, just start noob tubing. But God help me, when I do actually get a grenade launcher, I'm probably going to be noob tubing to high hell in the towns. I am going to be saturation bombing that place to no end. But either way. Now, I did learn from this game, and I realized that, number one, I'm a little bit rusty and a little bit out of shape. So I will definitely be exercising more and definitely be doing more weapons drills and definitely running a little bit of stuff here on my land to try and keep myself a little bit more prepared. The other thing is that my guns, while yes, I am much more of a battlefield player, I guess you could say, compared to a Call of Duty player, meaning my gameplay, my playing method is more slow, methodical. I don't really try to rush into things. Half-cocked, I actually try to be somewhat, tactical to a degree. So my Cybergun SMG, with its longer barrel, definitely was good for woodland play, because I didn't have to worry about maneuvering as bad. But when I got into the city, I was definitely noticing that I had to be more cautious about bringing it up. So having that 10-inch barrel is definitely going to make it a little bit more maneuverable for the city environments. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be a little more cautious with how I play in the city. A big thing is definitely with CQB being a big boon. I'm definitely going to be looking at more shotguns. When I mean shotguns, I mean full-length shotguns. Because as much as I do want to go with the more tactical shotguns, I'm a shotgun guy, okay? I'm going to go looking for some Benellis or some M870s because, yeah, shotgun! Now that that's out of the way, what am I going to be bringing next time I go out there? In terms of my primary gun, the first gun I'm going to be playing with, that's a tough call because I just got in a new bullpup and I really want to play with it. But I haven't done the review on that yet, so, well, I'll save that. I'll save you that little surprise for the next option. But because of the Cyberpunk theme and just more or less of how comfortable it was to run that Magpul, next time I'm probably going to take my JG Star Dragon. The Star Dragon is not only a more compact M4, but also it's very good for what it needs to do. It's very comfortable, very maneuverable. I can rock it any way I have to. It is good for what it needs to do. So I'm probably going to rock this next time, once I figure out how to get a selfie cam on the son of a bitch. But again, I'm probably going to be running a suppressor on this, just for shits and giggles, because big honkin' suppressor on this thing will definitely complete that look of it being a more stealthy style gun. But again, we'll see what kind of muzzle brake I have on the end of this, and seeing what kind of camera mount I have on the end of this thing. Moving on now. Option for a sleeper gun, of course, because I'm not going to stop doing that. I'm going to bring up my sleepers so I know how they perform on the field. Is, of course, good old-fashioned Soviet AK. This, of course, is a JG AK-74 slash AKM, depending on how you want to go with it. This is a top-wired metal, basically. It's a very good little AK. Folding stock, so if I do get into the CQB area, right there, I can literally bring it in like this and start doing this. Not only that, but there are things here, and even here, the cutout for the rail mount, so I can literally have a rail mount on here, and I can still have fun. This is a version 3 gearbox in here, which is a good thing. So, if I can basically swap it out with other stuff, it's got a quick change spring in here. It's good for what it needs to be. It's got a redneck flat hop in there. It's a AK from China. It's a JG AK, so in a weird sense you can call this an Norinco. There are no rails on this yet, because, again, I don't know how I want to set this up. But, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this... I will set this up in the future. But there is another sleeper AK I actually want to bring, and it's South Korean. The South Korean AK, of course, is this. This is a South Korean Springer slash AEG AK. The reason I say slash AEG is because you can basically put a AEG gearbox in here. The spring box thing It's literally just a version 3 that houses all the Springer components, and it accepts AEG magazines. So, in a sense, I could turn this into a AEG AK-74 SU, which once I figure out how I can replace this polymer buttstock with a metal one is definitely going to be a big boon for it. But I could actually, because I can, swap out this for this solid body here, meaning that I could actually have a solid stock short spring AK or a long spring AK with a full-length metal barrel, so I can actually have more long ranges. I could actually turn this into a bolt-action AK sniper. Well, like I said before, I can basically turn this into an AEG. There's a lot of possibilities with it, and I might just run it as is because the prime on this isn't that bad. It does have a good long range, and I can, because I looked inside this, I can mount the scope mount on here, meaning I can actually have that scope. I can have the over-the-top rail mount. So, again, I can do a lot with this. And that's about it, really. Thank you for joining me on the first of hopefully many after-action reports and my thoughts on the field as a whole. And for those of you who were at Tupelo Airsoft Club, do you agree with my thoughts on the field? Do you think that the field could use more things? Do you think it's lacking some things? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, I've been AirsoftAL, and I will see you lovely, lovely people in the next video. And I hope to see you guys at Tupelo Airsoft Club. Look forward to the gameplay that comes out of that. I promise you I'm working on it, but you gotta give me time. There's a lot of footage I gotta go through, guys. So, yeah. Till next time, ladies and gentlemen, I've been AirsoftAL, and I will see you lovely, lovely people in the next video. Till next time. Later.